Hello, my name is Julian Garzon and I'm a student from Bogota, Colombia. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I believe data influences the world. First of all, data has a great accessibility. Virtually anyone with internet access and a device can download databases on various topics, depending on their topic of research interest. For example, my research interests are macroeconomic policy, public policy, and finance. However, raw data by itself doesn't have many practical use without the appropriate tools, both analytical and sometimes technological, to work with it, as well as the will to research and learn. Next, I am going to illustrate this with two practical examples. The first example is about public policy in Africa. I just downloaded a database with information about towns in Africa. What does it have? It has 1,019 observations from 1,019 towns in Africa with each of their Gini coefficient, which measures inequality, average income per person measured in the GDP per capita, deaths by million due to armed conflict, and a corruption index in which larger values represent less corruption. Also, we have an average of the precipitations per year. If we run a very simple linear regression model trying to investigate the effect on deaths by million of inequality, GDP per capita, and corruption, we would find that with these data and making several assumptions, we can conclude that neither Gini coefficient or GDP per capita to a 95% confidence help explain deaths by million due to armed conflict. However, the no corruption index does. And specifically, the effect is that increasing the no corruption index, which means reducing corruption, would reduce deaths by million due to armed conflict. As a policymaker, one would recommend to implement public policy of reducing corruption in order to target the deaths by million caused by armed conflict. This was a very simple example that helps us explain the magnitude of the impact of data, which is even to the extent of saving people's lives. The second example is about Bitcoin and investment decisions. A friend comes to me and asks me, Julian, I have heard so many friends have won big money by buying Bitcoin. I'm thinking about investing in Bitcoin. I tell him, okay, we have the data, which is public. Let's have a look at it. So we clean our data with the use of a software such as R statistics. And I show him the returns on a daily basis for the last 3 years of Bitcoin. This sound between 20% and minus 20% and even minus 50% is the risk that the person is assuming. A person that invests in Bitcoin has to be aware of the risk he is assuming. A good measure of risk in finance is the volatility, which is the standard deviation of the returns. I show him that for the last 3 years, the volatility of Bitcoin has oscillated around 70%, with a peak around 90% and greater, and in its most stable moments, it has been around 50 and 60%. So I will tell my friend, are you willing to invest in Bitcoin, knowing that you can assume losses of greater than 45%, and also knowing that a less risky asset, such as the Dow Jones Industrial Average, has a volatility for the last 3 years of around 17%. This example helps illustrate how data can help people be aware of their investment choices and make more informed decisions. I use these examples from two of my favorite research topics to show how I believe data influences the world by having an impact in the decisions not only governments, but individuals take, which have an effect in people's life, their safety, and how they use their resources.